Okay, good. First, здравствуйте. I'm gonna stop here because it's the only word I know in Russian. Well, I know a bit more, but it's very basic. So we'll do the presentation in English, so it's better and I can give you more details. Okay, so first let me give you a bit more information about the program in general. Because I am what we call development managers, and we're several going around the world and meeting great candidates just like you to let them know about the program. And I'm more specifically going to Russia and to Ukraine and in general Eastern and Central European countries. So first, Irina, if you can move forward to the next slide, please. So just to give you the big picture about HEC, I'm not going to go into details, but we have several programs. We are on a big campus. Maybe Alex can share his experience about campus life in general. But we have some Masters of Science, specialized Masters for people who don't have working experience. And for people who are more senior, we also have executive education programs and also a PhD in management. And our MBA program is offered both in, was not done. Our MBA program is offered both in full-time and part-time, so I will describe to you both options. And overall, the HEC school, HEC Paris school, has been ranked #1 business school in Europe for 5 years in a row, so we're quite proud of it. Moving on to the next slide. So we have, we're really proud to have a strong permanent faculty. So you see here some statistics, but in the MBA program you have some permanent faculty that are teaching, but also you have some visiting professors that are very international and very renowned programs over the world. And we also have some experts, professional experts, coming to share their experience in your classes. Okay, I'll give you more details about the curriculum. So I will first describe the full-time option, and then after the part-time. Here you see that you can get the same degree, but we have two different formats. So the full-time is over 16 months, and the part-time is on a modular format, meaning you have 1 full weeks every month over 24 months. And the idea is that the structure of both options is very similar. There's the first part is what we call the fundamental phase, and after that there's what we call the customized phase, which helps you really adapt the program to your needs and to your objectives. So first, I'll be talking about the full-time MBA. So we have two different intakes. There's one in September, and the other one starts in January. So you can choose either one of both. So you see the structure in this slide. First, it starts with fundamental, and then you go to the customized phase. So I'll give you the details on the next slide. So the fundamental phase, you see, has several parts, the main part being the core courses, where you have here the list of courses. There's economics, finance, marketing, ethics, strategy, etc. It's a way for you to get a very strong knowledge in all the fields of management, which for us is very important. And no matter what you've done before, we don't take your background into account in this case, because you're expected to also share your experience with your classmates. But again, it's important that you get a strong knowledge, so you're able to adapt easily to different responsibilities that you will get in your professional life. And on top of that, you have some other, I'm still on the slide before. So on top of that, there's some leadership development activities. Here you see some student-run conferences, off-campus seminars, MBA tournament, etc. So these are made to also develop your personal skills, which is very important. We believe that knowledge is good, but also know-how and leadership skills are very important. And on top of that, you also have language classes. And I think Alex will be a very good witness of that in the French class, because he's a great speaker in French now. So if you're not already fluent in French, you will have to take French classes, or the third language if you're already bilingual, if you already know French and English perfectly. And it's quite important, especially in terms of placement. If you're looking for a job in France, it will definitely help you to know a bit of French. That's why French classes are important as well. Going on to the next slide, so here you see that's the customized phase, where you can, as I said, adapt the program to your needs. You have several options that are offered here internally, and then after I'll explain the options you have also with partner schools abroad. So on campus you can choose between several what we call tracks, is a way to concentrate on one specific subject. So here you see the list. It's either entrepreneurship, finance, marketing, strategy, and one new track that is offered will be on general management. And there is also linked to these tracks a very broad catalog of elective classes, both in English and in French. So you can definitely adapt the program to what you want and what you need. Another option which is offered is with the fieldwork projects. So it's either an individual project or team project. So individual project is a bit similar to what you would call an internship, and a consulting project that you can do in group. For example, here you see the testimonial of Rotem. He was doing a consulting project on a social business issue that he did in a foreign country. Moving on to the next slide, you will see some other options that are offered. So the options you saw before, they are, well, local options, but of course we have many partners worldwide, and you can do an exchange program with one of them. We have around 50 different partners, so you can spend one term, around 4 months, in a partner school and take your elective classes there. And the other option you have to go abroad is the double degree program. So here you see the list of different programs that we offer in partnership with very famous MBA programs or master's programs. And you can here get 2 different degrees from top universities, and of course to broaden your network with 2 alumni networks. The only thing that I can mention about the double degree is that the selection is made by the partner school, so you will apply as any other MBA candidate. So keep that in mind if you want to apply to double degree. I see a question from Ilya. Yes, the customized phase, including the exchange, will fit in the 16 months, so it's just one option among others. Whereas for the double degree option, it can bring your MBA program a bit further, so it can be a bit longer. Before talking about the part-time MBA, I would like just to let Alex share a bit of his experience on the fundamental and customized phase, because he's just finished, so he's got a good testimonial to share. Please, Alex, if you can give us some words.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Well, as for the question that's actually Irene asked in the very beginning, if the HEC MBA was what I was looking for, exactly, it's completely corresponded to what I needed, and in fact, it just pretty much allowed me to get my dream job, of which I can tell you later if you're interested. So, about the program in general, I would say that the first 2 semesters, which are the core classes, is just amazing. It is, you cannot really even think that you can work that much. And especially the first thing that we were saying all the time during the first semester was that we didn't work that much when we were paid money. And now suddenly we are paying so much money, and we are just working as crazy. But as a matter of fact, it is just amazing. Even when you just do studies till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning every day, and then wake up for an 8 o'clock class, it's just still awesome. For the HEC offers amazing options. It's very flexible, so you can go, for example, well, as Aнаис mentioned, for an exchange program, and I know a lot of people who actually did. However, you have to bear in mind the fact that if you're going somewhere for the last semester for an exchange, that means that you will not be you will be somewhere where you would be not able to network with the people back in Paris, for example, if you are dreaming of a job in France. So you have to always remember this thing. Unfortunately, we have a few cases of people who, for example, wanted to have a job in France, then they went to the United States, and then they had difficulties, coming back to France, and, because they lost some time to some extent. So you have to think about this. Double degree, a lot of people also left for double degrees, and I know that in many cases it's a good idea to do, for example, one part of the MBA in Europe and one part in Asia. I know quite a few people who want to get both the European and the Asian approach to doing business and be like, have global careers in companies which want to go, for example, to the Chinese markets more and more aggressively. So I would say that in a program which is 16 months, it's perfect. You have perfect opportunities. You have very diverse opportunities. And so I think that if you're interested in maximizing the return on your investments, I think that HEC MBA would be just the greatest thing ever. Aнаис?
Yes, thank you very much for your testimonial. I will then move on with, yeah? Can you hear me?
Yes, Anais, we can hear you, please.
Yes,
Dr.
Hello?
yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I think the sound is, there is a bit of time. Okay. So I will give you a bit more information about the part-time option then. Can you go back to the previous slide, please? Okay. So this is the structure. Yeah. So this is the structure of the part-time MBA. So as you see, the structure is similar to the full-time, but first difference is that there's only one intake. It is in January. So you have only the chance to start in January, compared to the full-time, where you can start either in September or in January. So I'll give you more details on the next slide about the different elements you get in each part. So here you see that on the fundamental phase, it's exactly similar to what you get in the full-time option. Of course, the pace is different. As I mentioned earlier, the part-time option is on a modular basis, so you have classes 1 week every month for 24 months maximum, so the pace is different. All the classes you get in the part-time option are exactly the same, and here you see that the fundamental phase is completely similar to what you get in full-time. So moving on to the next slide.
Okay.
So here you see some examples that I mentioned earlier and that you also get in the full-time. For example, the situational leadership seminars and the MBA tournament. But the last picture you see here is talking about the EAP. It's an exchange program that we've developed with the Indian Institute of Management, and this is only offered in the part-time option. This is mandatory, and so it means that you will spend one of your modules abroad, so in India. You will attend lectures and conferences from this institution. You will also visit companies that are famous local companies in India, and also some relevant cultural visits. And this is a way for you to broaden your international exposure. From September to December, you work in joint groups with Indian participants, and in December they come on campus and to visit France and to experiment the European business culture. And so they come here and you work together on the project and you present your conclusions. So this is something that is unique to the part-time option. Then I will talk to you about the customized phase of the part-time option. So the first thing that is part of the customized phase is the consulting project. If you remember, in the full-time option, you only had the option to do a project. But in the part-time format, the consulting project is mandatory. So as it described on the slide, you will work in teams of 3 to 5 people on a strategic mission during all of your second year. So here you see the example of one of our participants. And one specific project you can work on is the Global Consulting Practicum with Wharton. It is one of the projects that is offered, and actually 2 teams of our current part-time class are doing that. And actually you can do it with mixed teams of also full-time participants. And so this is a great chance to broaden your network again and be in touch with the top participants of the Wharton MBA, Wharton being one of the best MBA programs in the world. Moving on to the next slide. So here you see the different options that you have in the customized phase. So as I mentioned earlier, you can of course also take elective classes, either in English or in French. You can also attend an exchange program. So there's one specific exchange program that is only offered to part-time participants because it is on a part-time format. It is an exchange we have established with UCLA, so in Los Angeles in the US. Or you can also apply to a full-time exchange program if you have the chance to be available for the time of an exchange program. And one last option that is offered only for the part-time participants is the chance to attend one of the majors that are offered as part of the Executive MBA program. The Executive MBA is offered for people who normally have more experience. They have 15 years working experience on average. But we decided to build some synergies between the 2 programs. That's why you can now apply to these majors. So here you see the list of majors: luxury, services, aerospace, energy, and entrepreneurship. And it includes one part in France and one part abroad. So that's very interesting in terms of networking, in terms of sectors, of course, but also to network with Executive MBA participants. Moving on to the next slide. So you have some optional extras, some extra options that you can do after your MBA studies or apart from your MBA studies. So same in full-time or in part-time. You can attend a certificate. This is a specialized program. So here you see the list of different certificates that are offered. So they are industry-oriented. And you can also do the Global Real Estate Masters with a special price that is offered only for HEC MBA graduates at Wisconsin. So this is another option that you have. Okay, now I'm done with the curriculum part. We'll move on to the next part of the presentation. So here, today you have the chance to be in touch with Alex, and thank him again for taking part in the session. So here, moving on to the next slide, you will see the big picture and the statistics of his class. So we have around, these are just statistics, but it gives you an idea of the kind of profile we have in the class. We generally have around 200 participants every year, including full-time, September, January, and also part-time. And so we have 27% women, which is quite good, and actually this year is even better, so we are quite proud of it. The average age is around 30 years, average working experience around 7 years. And I'll give you more details about the admission requirements and what we expect, so you know where you stand. And we have around 80% of international participants. Here you see the average GMAT. It's, as you see, 690, and actually it's one important part talking about admissions. Okay, so give you more details on that. afterwards. I will go on to the next slide, please. Here you see what I call the clubs. Maybe Alex will have things to share on that. We have several professional clubs. They are student-run clubs, and they are more specifically around networking and putting you in touch with the right people in the industry you're interested in. So again, it's quite important to be part of these clubs, and it can really help you, know more about such industry, or also network with the right people. So again, it's a good leverage. Alex, do you have anything else to add about the clubs?
No, not really. I think that we can actually move to the Q&A part of the presentation, because we have like a lot of questions here. And what do you think?
Okay. I will just like to have the slide about how to apply. After that, yeah, this one.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. Don't worry.
Sure. I'm sorry.
So can you the 2 slides after? No, you're right. This one. Okay, here, so because I saw in the Q&A that some people were talking about GMAT and that kind of thing, so this is the admission process, which is quite important to keep in mind. So it's all online. We will soon change the system on which we're doing the application form. So be careful if you're currently starting your application. You may have to copy-paste your answers, but the essays will stay the same. Then your application is reviewed in pre-selection. So of course, to review your application, we need the essays, your university transcripts, 2 recommendations, English test if you're not a native speaker or did not do your studies in English, and also the GMAT. So as I mentioned earlier, the average is 690. So the better score you get, the more chances you have to be admitted, of course. It's just one element, but it's very time-consuming. So I advise you to start preparing, well, with such companies as MBA Strategy, or to give you guidance and help you get a good score on the GMAT. So then going through pre-selection jury, the main selection is made at this stage, because after that you have to do 2 interviews that you do with alumni. So they are busy people, so if we send you 2 interviews, it's because we feel you have a good potential to succeed. We don't want to waste their time, basically. I didn't mention, but we have an alumni network of 45,000 people worldwide. So you have some, of course, in your countries, I'm sure. So again, if you go to interview, it's important to understand what kind of people you will meet. And after that, we review all files, given the written application and the interview feedback, and go to the admission jury. You can find the admissions calendar on the website, so it gives you an idea depending on which intake you want to target. It gives you an idea on the timing. Okay, I see some of the questions, so I'll try to answer. I see questions about scholarship. Actually, we do have some scholarships, but sorry for some, but it won't cover up to 70% of the fees. It will maximum cover 50% of the fees. And I should say that if you get 50% of scholarship, that would actually mean you're a great candidate. We have several types of scholarships. Internally, we have 2 types. They're either need-based or merit-based. You have to choose which one you apply to. And also, we have some external scholarships that are given by partner institutions or partner companies. For example, there's the Forte Foundation Scholarship only for women. There's, for example, the L'Oréal Scholarship. There's the Eiffel Scholarship, etc. So you have several scholarships that are also available externally. I said merit-based, sorry for the accent. talking about it's what we call the HEC Excellence Scholarship. It means your application has to be great. Okay, any other? Yes, about cost of accommodation, books, and so on. This is a question. Let me show the question. So the most participants, they live on campus, at least for the first part of the program. So I know, Alex, can you share a little bit about Expansiel? This is the name of the residence.
Yeah, Expansiel is the place to be actually during the first 8 months at least, because otherwise you will spend a lot of time in commutes from wherever you are. Especially the most difficult part is getting from the metro, from the train station up to the hill. It takes 15 minutes, but you dread this part after just like a few days, because you have to just literally climb this hill. So I would say that it's a good idea if you stay on campus for the first 8 months, and then when you don't actually need to be on the campus every day during the personalized phase, then it's a great idea to actually move to Paris.
Yes, and sorry. We have another question also about accommodation. So do part-time students live on campus during the week they are in Paris? Well, it really depends. We do offer either rooms on campus, or also we have a partner residence close by. But it's really a personal choice. I know many of them, at least for the first modules, they prefer to be around, so they can really get to know their classmates, and also, again, enjoy the campus life and everything, all the events that are organized on campus. But also some, they have their family in Paris all around, so for them it's easier to go back home every night. But it's a bit of a very challenging and very demanding program if you do it in part-time. We also have, of course, some people commuting from abroad. We have someone commuting from, like 2 people actually commuting from Spain. We also have some from Belgium, Switzerland, Hungary. We even had someone commuting from the US to do the part-time program. So of course these people, they come here just for 1 week, so they book a room on campus or in the residence close to the campus. Okay, Alexei just answered questions about the price of the rooms.
No, I actually didn't. Oh, I mean, yes, I answered about the price of the rooms for the part-time.
Oh, sorry. I thought so. Yeah. Good. Thank you. I'm not sure I get your question, Anastasia. Could you please name the places where you have campuses distance from school? Can you explain a bit more about what you mean, please?
I think that there is some misunderstanding of the word campus, because, well, campus is in fact where the school is. So the residence that you get on the campus, it's next to the school. So you just walk 5 minutes maximum.
Yeah, if you walk slowly, it's 5 minutes. Otherwise, it's only 2.
Yes, exactly. But usually you walk slowly because you're catching up with friends in the morning before the classes, and some of the classes you don't want to go.
Exactly.
So we...
Okay. Do you have other questions? There's an interesting question for Alex about your experience. Why basically did you decide to do an MBA?
Yes. Well, for me it was, how can I put that? I actually have a degree in linguistics, so I originally graduated from Surgut State Pedagogical University, Surgutский государственный педагогический университет. It's in the middle of Siberia, I know. And I worked for the oil company Surgutneftegas, first as an interpreter to the CEO of the company. And then later, after some time, I actually started to diversify myself into the travel industry. And then at some point I realized that I really want to actually, first of all, work in Europe. Second, I want to transform my experiences of working with customers in the corporate travel industry to actually something more interesting. So that's why I recently got a job at the company called Amadeus. It's located in the south of France, in Nice. It is actually an IT company which is providing technologies to the airline industry, to the travel industry, and just everyone in this sector. So I'm pretty much transferring my skills of working, first-hand skills of working with clients of the travel industry into the technology business. So, and to make this move, an MBA was pretty much a must. So that's why I decided to do an MBA.
Okay. Do we have our other question, or we can show our next slide? Yeah. We see a question. Okay. It's question for Alexey. What's your position at Amadeus? From Ilya. So, Alexey.
Okay. So the team which I will be working in, it's a product marketing team. And the division where it is located, it's called Airline Distribution Solutions. So I will be the link between the airlines and the software engineers
can we show the next slide of our presentation, or our participants have more questions?
So it's a product marketing manager.
Okay, we have a question. What about it? We have a question from Vita, but what about is share? So?
I think...
sorry, I'm not sure I got the question.
A room...
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's the question about sharing an apartment, right, at Expansiel in the residence. It's 18 square meters, and it's only a single bed. And I think that you really need to love the person you're going to share it with to stay there, you know, all the time. So. Sorry,
Alex. I think it was wrong. Yeah, it was about IT. So your position at Amadeus,
okay.
I think.
All right. Yeah, exactly. No, I was not working in the IT business whatsoever. So as I mentioned, I started my career as an interpreter, and then I was a corporate travel manager at Surgutneftegas. So I never was involved in IT.
What is good actually at HEC, well, it depends on your profile, but we have a lot of what we call career switchers. Oh, sorry, Alex. We have a lot of career switchers, and actually Alex is a good example. So the length of the program, the format, like everything you get helps you really switch careers. So this is the strength of the program.
Just to answer. Yeah, just the question from Vita, if it was hard for me. Well, first of all, I didn't yet start my job, so I cannot tell you how hard it is. And second, well, for the position that I'm going to be in, IT was not required whatsoever. So I'm not going to be a product manager who is in charge of the development of new products. I am more responsible for the analysis of the requirements of the customers of Amadeus, in my particular case of airlines. So I would say that
we have a next
for that, IT is not that required. So I will have to deal with the software engineers, but I will also be dealing with product managers who are more experienced in IT. There is also just a question. Yeah, I'm sorry.
There are questions about admissions.
From Ilya,
yeah.
If Amadeus got me directly from HEC. Actually, they didn't get me directly from HEC because they did not attend the most recent fair in September. And so I started my networking with them maybe last April. So I think that it took me quite some time before I actually got a job there. But this is
also we have a question to Alex.
Because
what about your results on TOEFL and GMAT?
You have to
and
prove them
next question maybe for Aнаис about difficult part in the application process. Okay, so first Alex, what is your results?
Okay. Okay, let me answer those two questions. Well, yeah. Okay, so for GMAT I got 690, and for me the most important part was to score as well as I could on the quantitative parts. So that's why I concentrated on the first parts. It was, I think, for me it was 49 out of 51, I think, for the math. And the verbal part was not so great, like 35, I think. And for the TOEFL, I got 117. But, yeah, I mean, I was an interpreter, so I think that at HEC the minimum is 100 that is accepted. So, so yeah, you should not be discouraged if if your TOEFL score is 105, 110 or something. And there is one more question about Amadeus right away, if I'm the only foreigner in the team.
Okay,
no, I'm
maybe
not.
Next question to Aнаис about essays.
Amadeus is a very international company, and in their office in Nice, out of 4,000 people, 2,000 people are not French.
I will answer the questions. Yeah, I know the sound is disrupted, so it's hard to follow. Talking about the admission process, and more specifically the application form, well, if you want to have more details about the essays, I invite you to download the application form. So you will see the questions. Some are very challenging, so I think it takes time talking about what is more difficult in the application process. So you need to take your time to write your essays properly and to give a very good idea of who you are and what your assets are. So again, I think it's quite time-consuming, but when you press submit your application, you really want to make sure that it's the best application you can submit. What is quite difficult as well, as we mentioned, the GMAT, it's not difficult as such, it's just because it's very time-consuming. You need to take a few months in general to get a good score. So again, this is quite challenging sometimes, depending on your background, and also it takes time. So I would say the two parts that are more challenging and more difficult are the essays and the GMAT. Another question, Daria is asking, Yeah, so if you did your master's in English, you will just need to send us your transcripts where it shows that the language of instruction was English, and you will be automatically waived from the TOEFL requirements.
There are no next question for right now. Maybe we will back to our presentation. Okay, we have a new question from Ilya. What is a typical audience in the group?
I will let Alex answer this one.
Yeah, okay, so typical audience, okay, since it's Paris, mostly finance, I guess. Well, actually, it's vice versa. I would say that HEC Paris is the school for the industry, and most of the participants in our school, they are not coming from they're actually coming from very diverse backgrounds. We even have sportsmen, we have, I don't know, entrepreneurs, whoever. And I wouldn't say that we have too many finance people. I would say that's quite an average. I think that after the HEC MBA, it's about only 20% of the people who end up in the finance roles. I'm not sure, Aнаис, you might want to correct me.
Yes. So it is around 20% in finance and also 20% in consulting, and industry being the main part. It's more than 40%.
Exactly.
So, as I said, the full-time and part-time are just two different formats of the same degree. So the requirements in terms of selection is the same. So the age is almost the same, is 30 to 31 years on average.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Then is about entrepreneurship. Will you come back to your own business?
Okay, I think that this is a question to me. Well, I would say that up to now I have not considered entrepreneurship as a career path for me. So I prefer to work in large corporations. This is just a personal preference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we have a question like how many
Other
people
questions, maybe?
are enrolled in total in part-time program?
I think that we might have missed a few questions in the beginning as well.
Yes.
Let's see if there are any.
Okay, next is question to Aнаис. What's the percentage of people that start?
We have around 30 to 40 every year in the part-time program.
Okay, next question to Aнаис. What's the percentage of people that start their own business?
Well, the proportion to start their own business right after the program is really quite low, is around 7 to 8%, but the percentage is much higher if you take people who graduated 3, 4, or 5 years ago, because generally people start with a position in a big company before starting their own company. But we have several facilities, several offers here on campus. Sorry, Alex.
Yeah, talking about no problem. Talking about entrepreneurship, I know that most of my classmates who took up the entrepreneurship track this semester, they are planning to first actually get into a large company and then set up their own business. Especially if you are changing your career path, it may be a good idea to get the connections in the corporate world and then after that to move on.
Talking about innovation and entrepreneurship, we are part of soon to be a big research and innovation cluster here in France, involving several schools and universities, companies. There's, for example, Danone, if you might know this company, and also several engineering and management schools. So we're on the very fast track talking about innovation and entrepreneurship, and this is something we really want to focus on in the coming years.
Well, I would say that probably an MBA is better if you want to work in the corporate world. It's my own perception. Some of my classmates who are dreaming of entrepreneurship, they may not agree with me, but I can only give you my perception. So.
Okay, question from Ala. Is MBA not too far from IT sector? I'm working in IT and concern will it
there is a question about how many people stay in France. Okay, I'm sorry. I think that it is totally worth it, and in fact we have quite a few IT guys in our MBA program. You know, there is a joke about the typical profile from the guys from India, right? Indian male IT. So many of them, they are actually trying to switch careers. So IT is not something which is unusual for the MBA. I personally have a friend who is Brazilian and who had worked in IT before. While he was still working in IT, he was doing CFA, and now he actually got a job in private equity. So for him, the investment on the MBA was totally worth it. Okay, I think that this is a question about what the competition is to get a spot on the program, right?
Okay, next question.
This is what I understood. The selection ratio, meaning the number of people admitted out of people applying, is around 1 out of 6. This is around from the stats from last year. We have around 30 to 40% of people staying in France, most of them being non-French.
Are there any state regulation application for work residence permit provided you have a French degree?
Okay, so here we have to be very careful with this thing, because recently the French government suddenly decided that they do not want foreigners to take spots in French companies or in France in general, but now luckily it's back to normal. So I would say that it is highly encouraged by France that foreigners who graduate from the most prestigious and the most elite business schools, engineering schools, that they actually get their jobs in France. It is considered to be strategic that with our help, with the help of foreigners staying in France, French companies are able to expand their horizons and conquer the new markets. So as for particular regulations, I would say that I don't think that there are like anything specific. I can tell you for sure one thing is that anyone who graduated from a master's program in France, which was no less than 2 years, and HEC MBA, since we officially, well, I officially started in September 2010, and I'm getting my diploma in June 2012, and it counts as 2 years. So anyone who did something like this is actually
actually
has an opportunity to get the French citizenship, to apply for French citizenship 2 years after officially graduating, well, provided that you worked and paid taxes during that time.
I think there are some questions I can answer. So to answer Anastasia's question, if you already have an MBA from another country, you will have to explain why you are applying to another one. If you do so, normally it's because you didn't find what you were looking for doing this MBA in Russia. So you will have to explain this in your application, so we understand why you want another MBA. But other than that, if you have good reasons, I would say, you can definitely apply if you already have an MBA.
And if I may
There's
add,
another question from Vita asking... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I actually have a few classmates who had MBAs from Indian business schools or from Brazilian business school, and they still got another MBA in France.
Exactly. Yeah, I was answering Vita's question. Sorry, the sound is comes much later as I speak. Vita was asking if she's coming with her daughter, if she can study in France in a school. Yes, she can definitely study in the school here in France. So you know, there's a school not far from the campus, so she can be part of the school there. And actually, that would be a great chance for her to learn French. So that's again not a problem. Absolutely not.
Absolutely. I have a friend from the previous intake. She actually has a daughter who is now 17, and she went to school. She went to school near the campus, and now she is studying in Paris. She's studying in a medical school in Paris, while her mother actually got a job in the United States and left.
So we are, so as I said, giving scholarships on either need-based or merit-based basis. Well, I would say we don't want to have more than 40% of the class who get scholarships.
Okay, the first is the extreme diversity of the class. You have people from everywhere, coming from all different backgrounds and aspiring for everything possible on the earth. Not only for finance, consulting or anything, even though we have people like that, but for anything. Second, it's the length of the program, which gives you time to think, and at the same time it's not too long as 2 years in the United States. So it gives you time, just enough time to think.
And also next question also to Alexei
and
about
third, it's,
work
the
permit
campus,
application process.
because you pretty much live all together. There is amazing group dynamics. You make friends for life. Right now I'm going to start working with my current titre de séjour, my current work permits. A student work permit, a student residence permit allows you to work up to 6 months in France. So I'm going to use that, and then in the process, in the meantime, we will start the process of getting the work permits. As far as I know, it used to be about 3 weeks
we
to
have
get
two
a work permit here in France.
to Aнаис.
Then, because of some
Is it
troubles
possible
with the
to
French
pay
government, it
fee
was
in
like
parts?
3 or 4 months. But now looks like it is just getting back to normal. So I think that it should be okay soon.
Yes, so you will pay, actually the financial schedule implies paying in several parts. There's the first part is the initial deposit you pay once you're admitted to secure your seat in the program. That's 6,000 euros. And then you have 2 other parts. There's one part you pay right before starting, and then the last part you will have to pay a few months after starting. So I would say, well, the ones that Alex mentioned, of course, are, very important. I would mention, well, 3 more linked to what he said. The first thing is the pace of the program. He mentioned the length, the duration, but also the chance, I think, which is important, is the chance to customize the program. And there's a very high level of ways to customize between courses, internships, projects, career activities, exchanges, etc. So it's very well nice to be able to really adapt the program to your own needs. And you get, of course, a maximum return on investment, given that you spend only 16 months or 24 months in part-time. So it's one great chance. The second thing I would say is that we emphasize a lot on personal engagement. There's just a medium-sized class, so we have a very personal approach. You have a very close approach with the staff, of course, but also with your classmates. As Alex said, you make friends for life, so you all know yourselves between one another. It's a great chance. You also have, of course, a very intimate dialogue with some business leaders. For example, we have the Executive Committee on Campus program, where you have the chance to be in direct touch with top business leaders. We also have, of course, CEOs and top leaders of the corporate world coming to share their experience on campus. So this is the kind of thing you get, and personal engagement is very important to us, also through some what we call learn to lead approach, such as the situational leadership seminar and the MBA tournament, for example, and the clubs, etc. And the last one I will mention is the privileged access to some value-creating ties. I mentioned earlier, but just on the chat room, that we have very strong ties with global industries, and especially on the European markets. For example, in luxury, in energy, in aerospace, that Alex mentioned, of course, from his own experience. And also we have partnership with top science and technology institutions and companies, so again, focusing on innovation and entrepreneurship. These would be the three main aspects I would like to mention on top of what Alex said.
Okay, question is consultant project.
A consulting project is pretty much...
Sorry, can you say it again,
you're just
please?
in the shoes of a consultant. You're not... Who?
Question is consultant... Yeah.
Sorry, the sound comes after. I was talking about the question.
Should I repeat? Ah, okay. Okay, let me explain about the how a consulting project works. Okay, so a consulting project is pretty much exactly as if you were hired as a consultant by a corporation. Just imagine that you are McKinsey, Bain, BCG, or whoever. So you have a specific challenge in the company which they cannot solve organizationally. And they need someone who will come in and help them do that, who will analyze tons of stuff and who will apply the, well, in our case, the fresh knowledge from the MBA. For example, I had some friends who worked for Areva. It's a nuclear power company here in France. They had to redesign the organizational chart for one of the departments to better work, pretty much. So they were working for 3 months, and yeah, that's it. Then we had, for example, one person who was working on a consulting project in Africa for a Brazilian company. He was doing that by himself only, not in a team. And his challenge was how to get this company make recruitment in an area with very huge poverty and with huge unemployment. How to have the company cooperate with the local governments. And I think that was, I don't remember where it was in Ghana, I think. So it can be all different projects that you can imagine, but you have to bear in mind the fact that you're not going to work inside the company. So oftentimes you're actually coming into the company, get the data you need, and then you are, for example, doing the actual work from your apartments. So it may be less exposure to the company and to its processes, so it may not be a good way sometimes to get a full-time position in this company afterwards.
If I may add to what Alex just said, because the consulting project, as I said, is mandatory for the part-time program. So in this case, you can do it either in the company you're already working for, or you can do in a different company. So this is up to you to decide. Of course, it has to be, because it's even longer than what you get in full time. It is over 1 year, almost 1 year. So it has to be on a very strategic level, and it has to be like a long-term strategic mission that you will have to complete. Well, I think maybe Alex can give us, some examples. We had some visions of leadership conferences, or these kind of examples?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that this is a question more for me rather than for Aнаис. First of all, we have guest speakers during regular classes. For example, in the strategy class, we had guest speakers who are vice presidents or strategy directors in various companies. So sometimes it's pretty much the topic which is put on the curriculum, and it's just essentially taught not by the professor, but by a guest speaker, and that's it. If we are talking about CEO lectures, then it is the Visions of Leadership cycle of lectures. For example, we had a lecture with the CEO of Apple for Europe, Pascal Cagny, who is actually HEC MBA himself from 1986, and the lectures with the CEOs, they're not about specific subjects, but pretty much like success stories, where you can ask the people what challenges they had, not only in terms of business, but in terms of personal commitments and personal challenges that they had to overcome when they were building their careers.
When you should pay non-refund.
Well, the initial deposit you have to pay. Yeah, you have to pay the initial deposit about 5 to 6 weeks after you're admitted to the program. But of course, if you have to take a loan or to have other ways of financing, you have to think about it much in advance, so you're able to pay the deposit once it is due. So I would advise you to first start exploring financing issues quite in advance. And if we do ask you in the application form to provide some information about your finance plan, because we don't want to put you in any difficulty, especially if you're coming from abroad, you have other costs to take care of. So again, I think this is an important thing to think about in advance.
And talking about the scholarships and the loans that you can get from the school, they are deducted from your very last payment.
Okay,
so you will have to pay the non-refundable deposit anyway, and most probably you will also be paying your second installments, which is due before coming to the MBA. And then everything that you got is deducted from the very last payment, which is due 4 months into the program, just before Christmas.
Okay, dear participants, we have 5
and
more...
And we actually have one question here from Allah. There was a question, Alexei, have you been working while studying? It's just, I think that this question has gone up. No, it's just not.
Yes, I've seen it. If you want to work while studying, you will go for the part-time option, but in full-time you can't.
Exactly.
Okay, dear participants, we have 5 more minutes, so if you have more important question, please type it in chat line.
I've just put my email address on the chat room, so you can contact me anytime if you have any question or if you want more precise information about your profile or anything. So feel free to contact me. And you have Alex's contact as well. There's a question by Ilya, if there's a possibility to see a lecture of an HEC MBA professor online somewhere. Yes, you can. You have the iTunes U platform, and you have several examples of lectures and classes, and so you can definitely go on iTunes U and have some examples about, well, what we do at HEC.
Okay, thank you. We see emails of Alexei and Anaïs. So, dear participants, if you have extra question, you can mail. And I think that for today we can finish.
Thank you very much for attending. So again, if you have any questions or want to go further in the discussion, feel free to contact us. And my last word will be спасибо большое.
Пожалуйста, Анаис. Thank you so much for your participation.
Thank you all guys for considering HEC. If I may add, please. Okay, I'm only starting my job in 3 weeks, so before then I am totally available for a private call on Skype, or I will be able to reply to all of your emails very efficiently, so just please email me and we can definitely catch up on Skype.